this computer. Okay. Let's quickly start from here. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing great. The thing is, we are going to work on Kaggle, and Kaggle is a community to share the problem statements. And if you see a project and you want to submit your solution, these are the steps that you have to go through. So the first thing is, let's pull up a data set, and that is this time Bitly Kaggle train, and let's just fetch the first 5 rows by saying, please do that. Apologies, I just want to make sure that this one is not going to okay. Is this again? Stop sharing. Let's just make sure that we are going to share this screen. Okay, that's it. Share. Okay, so Owen, what we are going to do is we pick 2 columns out of these 12 columns that we have as the features. And what are those columns? We use P class or passenger class, and we use parent children class. Means that we want to see if there is any relationship between survival or those who lost their lives because of the class of the ticket, or because lifeboats gave priority to those who have children. So parent children, if it is 0, means that person doesn't have any children, and if it is 1, means that they have kids. And the other thing is we have passenger class, which shows that if they are in the 3rd class, 1st class, or 2nd. Does that make sense? So we choose these 2 columns. One of them is P class and parent children class columns. We place them inside feature calls. And then in the second one, we say train.log, get all the rows just for those 2 columns. Does that make sense? And look at this. We say x.head, so we show the first 5 rows of that. And the shape shows we have 891 2 columns as the training data set. Okay, spend a few seconds. If you are done and if everything is super clear, give me a signal. Thank you. Excellent. So now we create our target factor. Guys, we had X, we had the input. What is the output? What is the target? The target is the column that says survived. If 0 means that those people could not make it, 1 means that those people survived, right? And if you check, you see we have 891, the same number of rows. Okay, so we have the same number of rows. And then look at this one. If you receive any warning like this, that's because you are working with Anaconda. But I'm going to, oh yes, wait a second. And to make sure that nobody will miss anything, I'm going to just use duplicate. And I'm going to share again. So now everybody could see. Since last week, lots of things has changed in Colab. Anyway, I was about to teach in one of the classes that I've been under college. And when I opened it, it took me a while to find some of the stuff that I worked with last week in this class. Anyway, here we have x.shape. And now we say that let's import logistic regression from the scikit.linear model library. Type this one. And a question that I have for you is this. Logistic regression, is it a linear? Is it type of linear regression, or is it a classification? Sorry? Let's see what people can come up with. What's your opinion? Regression or classification? It is classification. We want to say survive or not survive. We do not have something in the middle. We say that somebody survived was by 70%, right? We use linear regression or regression when it's a continuous thing, like the price of the house. It could be 100,000. It could be 100,000, 0.5, and so on and so forth. So it's not like this. It's not discrete values. Continuous values. Okay. Look at this one. Here we say, based on that log reg, the object that we instantiated based on this class, we say go and find pattern between X and Y, means features and the label. If you do that, and this is the part that I do not explain, you will have the PowerPoint by tonight. But this is for those people that they use Anaconda. If you receive any warning, this is just to resolve those issues. Not a big deal. Look at this part. The rest of the code is, guys, we had just the first part, which is training. We need to have the test part as well. We want to, in Kaggle competition, now it's the time after training your model to show how accurate your model is. Guys, are you following? Everything is fine? Okay. If you check the head, please tell me which column is not there. Yes. Excellent, survive. Why we don't have survive? Because that is something that we want to predict. Right? This is something that we want to come up with. And if they give you the answer, then the problem is you're going to tweak, you're going to alter your model the way that it gives the highest possible accuracy. Am I right? If you have the answer, then you're going to change your model to receive the best possible answer. We don't want that. Okay. In that case, now it's the time to pick from the test data set to pick the same columns and all the rows of the data set. Does that make sense? Let's call it X new. Check the shape. What do you understand from this? Sorry? $418. No, we didn't filter something. The first thing that we downloaded was train, Kaggle train. This is Kaggle test. It's totally different data set, which contains 400 some rows. The other one had 800 some rows. So it's something like 1/3 of the data is for testing, and the other 2/3 is for training. So now it's the time to use prediction. We say, okay, go to all those 400 some rows and predict. And what is the result of prediction? If people survived or not. It's going to generate Y for us. Right? If you check that, well, technically, if you say test passenger ID, remember the last ID that we had there was 891. This is going to be the next 892 all the way to the end, 1,309. Right? So these are the IDs. How about the prediction? Very simple. Say new, guys, remember here we said new print class. And if you just simply type the variable name, it's going to give you a bunch of zeros and ones. Okay, the task is done. We wanted to predict if that specific row shows that the passenger was survived or could not make it. And you got it, right? Now, how you can, the question is how you can deliver that. We need to glue these 418 zeros and ones into yes. Exactly, that's what we want to do. We want to have one column as what? As the ID of the passengers, and the other column as survived or not survived. Right? Technically, we want to generate or create a data frame. I repeat it. We want to generate a data frame that contains two columns. One is ID of the passenger, and the other one if they survived or not. For doing that, simply, this is the first time that we create data frame. We say pandas.dataFrame. We use a dictionary format saying the passenger ID first, comma, test.passenger ID. So go and fetch from the test passenger ID these numbers, 892, 893, and so on and so forth. And we say comma, survived colon, the prediction, those zeros and ones. Guys, is it clear? We glue those two columns together. IDs. Okay, but there's one problem. The problem is dictionary by itself. In nature, it's kind of unsorted mechanism. So there's no guarantee that you mentioned it here, and you are gonna see next week in the examples that we have. You're gonna see that sometimes the passenger ID will be the first column, sometimes it could be the second column. There's no guarantee for it. So how could you force the system to consider the IDs as the first column? What is your suggestion? Sort. The sort, based on the things that I know, works to the content of each column. We want to make sure that the columns come first. This column comes first, this column comes second, not the content of the column. You're right? Okay. There are several ways for doing that. You want to say something? Oh, don't worry. We can simply say set the ID, passenger ID, as the index. Then there is no doubt that passenger ID would appear first. Right? This is one of the ways. And next week, we're going to learn different mechanisms. Okay. Make sure that you could just finish this. Look, we have the data frame. We have the data frame. Just we need to save it as a CSV file. So the next task would be just say 2_CSV. And look at the left side. I do not have anything. Sorry, just give me a second. I want to make sure that, look, the left side, we don't have anything, any file. Oops. And intentionally, I changed the name from sub to sub1. First, let's just save sub, maybe we use it later. And I use another one, sub1 too. And if you couldn't see the result on the left side after a couple of seconds, then you can simply right click and say refresh. Right? But normally it should appear by itself. I try to be patient. Refresh, and now we have both sub and sub1. Okay. So if you double click on if you click on this guy or the one that I created, you see that we have passenger IDs and zeros and ones. So the second 10, or you can just say, I want to see 25 in each, and that kind of thing. Or you can close it, or you can download the file. But there is one unique mechanism for pandas and in general for Python. You could say I use R and I can save files in CSV file format or tab separated format or I don't know, Excel format. So you can use any of these formats for the output, but what if you want to save it something particularly for pandas and Python? This is what we have here. We call it pickle. If you name a data frame and you say dot to pickle and pass a name like train.pkl, it's going to save this one, a data frame, as train.pkl. The second one is to read from a pickle. Simply, you can just fetch the file and place it there. Guys, remember we had to train, just use pickle to save it and we can fetch it. And now you can just see the output. Let me just run all these three. And one thing specific about this one, it's a binary file. It's not a text file. So you cannot simply open it and see like CSV, there are some numbers and comma separated values. Right? So whenever you could finish that, please give me a signal. Done? Okay, now intentionally, I want you to if you do not have Telegram, not a problem. Ask your friends to just send it to you. But tonight we are gonna all have all these files. So now you have the PowerPoint. I want you to spend a few minutes, go through the slides, see if you can understand everything. If you're finished using Pickle, then you are ready to just send your, well, this is the kind of dumb test, but generally these are the steps that you need to follow to complete your Kaggle project. Okay. My suggestion is now it's the time to discuss your PowerPoint with your friends and see if there's any concern, any question. This is relatively important file compared to the others. I wait for 4 minutes. Yes. It really depends which slide are you? Oh, those are the things that I said. I said ignore it for Anaconda. I mentioned them if you use Anaconda. Right? Just those few. Let me just tell you. Here. So after saying log reg fit, then jump to the test part. That was a good question. People asked. So after log reg dot fit, you don't need to go through all those slides. They are just for Anaconda. If you use Anaconda and face any trouble, then you simply can say test equal to pd.read underscore CSV for the train. Okay. Okay. Did you go through the slides? Everything is fine? Let's go to the next PowerPoint. I'm gonna close the current one. Okay, this one is based on some questions and answers. The first question is, imagine that you want to see what are the possibilities. I'm sorry. What are the possibilities that we have to open a file? Like if it is tab separated, if it is comma separated, if it is a pickle, or what? One of the things that we can do is simply please type in here, open a new tab, say pandas, and read underscore CSV. And if you do that, you see it brings you here, and except the very first parameter that you need to pass, the rest would be optional. You remember that we had in one of the assignments, skipping the rows. If you say Control F, skip. So look at this one, skip rows, skip footer. And what is the default value for separator? You can just see everything that belongs to that command. Let's go to the next, because the command starts with PD or pandas, and then you say read underscore CSV. It is a top level function. Okay. It's a top level function means that it belongs to pandas. It doesn't belong to a data frame. Just remember these terms. If it belongs to pandas, it starts with PD or pandas dot something. They are top level functions. And look at this one. Please check data frame and drop. Can you please type that? Type data frame dot drop. So these are data frame methods or DF methods. Okay. Look at the last one, among these three examples. If you check series and value count, it's going to show you that these are series functions. So we call them a series methods or a series functions. Most of the time, for top level, they call function. For data frames as well as series, they use method, but I use them interchangeably. Many people do the same. The intention of this part is, what if I want to do something, but I'm not sure? And I'll let you know that ChatGPT is not up to date for these parts. So that's why you cannot, ask ChatGPT and be relaxed that, okay, it's gonna give me the best answer. Yeah. Unfortunately, it is not based on the latest versions. Another question that could come to our mind is, what if I want to see the changes that happened in the recent version, like 2 point something? Or what would be the changes that we will face in 2024? Is it possible to even have an idea? What will happen? What will happen in the next year? We're going to talk about it in a few minutes. The next thing that I want to ask you to do is please type pandas API reference. Sorry. So if simply you type pandas API reference, it's going to bring you somewhere like here. You can scroll down. You can scroll down and you see one of the things, guys, do you remember that we talked about the pickling a few seconds ago? So if you want to get more information, you can just simply click on that pickling. The other thing is we have flat file. What does it mean, flat file? Just click there and look at it. If I say Control F, read underscore, it's going to show you tons of options that you have. Read table, read CSV, read Excel file, you name it. All those options are available. Just try it. And after that, please click on read CSV, and you see it is going to exactly give you the same result that we started our session with. Pandas, pandas dot read underscore CSV. Everything fine. Let's go to the next. Yeah, we said here we can have, if you just simply, you can, we use the simple things like Control F and C. And if you click on read CSV file, this is where we started our searching, right? And we said that this part is mandatory. The rest would be the optional parameters that we could have. The next thing is, guys, please stay till the end of the class. I'm gonna explain what would happen next lecture, next lab, and so on and so forth. So I'm gonna explain about everything. And if there are some friends that you know that they could join us, text them. At least at the end of the session, there are important things. What about a stir string? What can we do for getting that? So simply, let's type. Sometimes we're not lucky to get it in the first attempt. Let's say series pandas stir, or you can just say series dot stir. And then the good thing is that that's something that happened in a recent version. That's why you see it's different from the pictures. Actually, I have provided the recent links, URLs. I updated that, but intentionally I wanted to show you the old. I could just grab a new one. Look at the previous one. In the previous one, we just had the name of the stir methods. But in this one, in a new approach, they said, okay, you know what? Let's have an example when I explain it. You see, it's going to have an example and it's going to give you the result of that. Isn't it nicer? It just doesn't tell. It shows you through examples. I'm sorry. This is something that you can simply find by Googling, or in the left side by just getting into that portion. The other thing is, just see what I have missed explaining. What is new? Okay, let's just type that. Say, what's new in pandas? Isn't it funny? If you click on the current one, it's going to show you, okay, even next year, you are going to have these new things. We know that we will release these features too. For December, not finalized, but for November 10th was the last update. So you can have everything, what have changed in the version, right? You can simply just check all those things here. The next thing is, so the next question is, what could be the difference between data frame dot is null? I want to see what are the null values that I have in my data frame. What is this one? This is data frame method. The other one is using pandas, is top level function. Then use top level function is null and pass data frame as a parameter into it. Does that make sense? What are the difference between these two? I do not search now in front of, please just you search and try to find pandas is null explanation and try to find pd.isNull explanation. Please Google it. Done? Now it's the time to just fetch a data set. Guys, this is the second one. And as I told you, this is data frame dot is null. And you may say, why one of them is null and the other one is now? Okay, if you search, that is why I paused a couple of seconds. You could see that we have areas for that. So is null. Also, we have, it is possible to use is not for it.
So is null is alias for is not, right?
Yeah, because maybe you just want to use data frame, or maybe you want to use top level function and you don't want to see any difference. You just want to, right? So they provided that not to face any error.
So it doesn't matter in case.
Nope. It's just, I mean, like shell, the same performance. Okay, that's a good question. Whenever we use alias, is it going to reduce the performance? No, not at all. Okay, now I want you please to check if you say pandas dot is null and you pass UFO and you check the first file, or you say UFO data frame dot is null and just the first file. Is there any difference between these two? I mean, in terms of the results. Try both, please. And apart from checking those two, please type UFO.head. And explain to our neighbor why we have those truths and falses based on that is null or is not methods. Can you please explain it to your friends? What is happening in this slide? Okay. What is the explanation? Yes.
So if there is like missing value, can I set it to true?
So we have some missing values because we check, is those missing values, are they null values there? Yes, true. And if there are values there, so is null, it's going to return false because we have values, right? And both returns the same thing. Some people like the first approach, some people are, I personally mostly, right? My brain is like second approach. But there is no preference. You can just use either of them. And the next question that we have for you is, say that pandas doesn't have the same standard when it comes to using iLog and when it's time to use log. So for iLog, it is something like what we have in Pandas and Python, inclusive on the left side and exclusive on the right side. But for log, it's gonna be inclusive on both sides. Look at this one as the example. When we say log and we say 0 all the way to 4, it contains 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way including 4. But when we use iLog, we see that it has 0, 1, 2, 3, but not 4. We talked a little bit about it. Actually, I addressed just one of them in the previous session, or maybe 2 weeks ago, I don't remember exactly. But I want you please spend a few seconds, do a little bit of searching, and come up with the reason why actually they are there.
Do you know the difference between them?
Why? Yes. No, not, well, we know that one of them is inclusive, the other one is exclusive. There isn't. What is the reason that they are different? Is this, Google search or ChatGPT search? Ask ChatGPT, even ChatGPT cannot. If it, yes.
Is it because like for log function, it selects the rows based on the label, and for the iLog, it's gonna go through like the integer position of the like rows. Which starts with 0.
Thank you. Partially. Good. Okay, let me just tell you one thing, guys. Log is based on what we need in Pandas, while iLog is based on what is created on top of NumPy. And NumPy is on top of Python. So NumPy, Python, and iLog, they follow the same principles, means inclusive on the left, exclusive on the right. Again, iLog follows the principles of NumPy arrays, and the principles of Python. But something special that we cannot find it in other places except Pandas is log. And it is based on a string headers, column headers, or series. Right? Guys, did you follow so far? iLog follows the principles of NumPy and Pandas. But look at this one. If you say U for the values, NumPy kind of things. When you say U for dot values and you say 0 all the way to 4, then what's going to happen? It's going to show you 0, 1, 2, 3, but not 4. It's exactly NumPy. And when you say, this is very important. When you say iLog, you exactly use Pandas version of this NumPy. It's just like renew it and just say that, hey, this is something brand new for Pandas. But actually, if you open the hood, you see that beneath the layer, there's nothing but NumPy. Does that make sense? Okay, just another representation. And guess what? It follows the least range of Python. Everything is clear, Mr. Wright? Awesome. Okay. Let's go to this one. And now we get to the point. Now we get to the point that it said, hey, why log is different? Imagine that Daniel wants to have a report from city all the way to the end of the state, including the state. If we do not have that possibility to say log city state, we need to know, we need to check what is the column after state, and then we say city colon time to get city all the way to state. You know, it is ridiculous. You have to open the data set. You have to go to a column after that, grab the name, and then say, okay, just one column before that. You see the logic? It doesn't make sense. That is why they made something unique. Manually made something unique. Just for the sake of you, here, you don't need to search for the next column. If you know the first, you know the last, you can get your data. Everything is kind of super clear. Okay, by saying that, we can say in short, both log and ilog make total sense separately, and now we can explain why. ilog, based on the ancestors, and log something new for those needs. The next question is, how can we handle large CSV files? And I want you please, you all have UFO. I want you please to say UFO.sample3 and raise your hand if you get the same, exactly the same 3 lines. Got the same 3 lines? Okay, run it again. Good morning. Good after morning. Now it's 12:60. It keeps changing, right? What is good about it? Imagine that you have 1 million, 1 billion lines of that, and you just want to test your model based on 100 lines of that. Does that make sense? So you say UFO.sample 130. It fetches just random 100. But now you have this question, Reza wants to make something similar to you and see if the rest of the job will be the same or not. Okay, the same as before that you created a seed. Here, you can do the same thing, saying random state equal to, for instance, 42. And guys, now please add that and run the code. And I guess all of us should get 217, 12, 282, and 17, 933. Right?
It's like seed.
Exactly. As Nate said, it's like seed. So again, correct. Let me just give one bonus to Mahir. Bravo. Okay, done. Go to the next one. It's aha. Instead of saying, for instance, 100 line, I'm going to ask you a tough question. And I want to see who's going to give the correct answer. That bonus mark is waiting for you. Means 2 bonus marks at the same time. Are you ready? If we have a fract, this fraction is going to give, for instance, if you say 0.75, it's going to give you 75% of the rows, right? And guys, because random state is 99, you're all going to get the same number of rows and the same. Everything will be the same. Okay, imagine that I want to have train and I want to have test. Can I say train is equal to 75? And remember, use random state, And we say test is equal to the same thing we say
fract is equal to 25, 0.25. Is it okay? So we split the data into 75% training and 25% testing. Who says correct? Who says not correct? Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the rest is waiting for, yeah, it's not waiting to see. Okay, why it is not correct? Maybe.
Like practice that it gives you the random axis.
Random rows, okay?
Or the column.
No, just rows, not random columns, because we don't want random columns. We want all the data set, just we want to have random samples, including all the columns. Huh? Okay?
Yeah, so I think it could be repetitive if given like 75 or 25.
I didn't get, imagine that I didn't get what you said. John. Jonathan? Sorry?
I know it's also problems too.
Don't worry. The only wrong answer is what we keep and we don't dare to share. That's the only wrong thing that happens.
Same thing too.
So thanks for participating. I appreciate it. And it's your turn. Same thing what? Same thing with him or with her? I didn't understand what she said. Come on. So that's why I'm asking you. Same thing. Okay, guys, one is yes, Mr. Right. Or
So you plan to use that because it's gonna overlap the same data for use for test each trade. But it'll just take the first 25, which is also included in the 75.
That's what I mean.
I know. Exactly. As Carl said, hey, it's not necessarily the same 25% of that 75%. But because they are random numbers, it could pick, for instance, for the 75, it could pick the first row, third row, fourth row. And for 25, it picks, for instance, third row, fifth row, and so on. And there are overlaps. And that is horrible. Guys, we shouldn't, never ever test our algorithm based on something that we have already used for training the model. Does that make sense? You never should go to test your model with the data that partially could be part of the training model. They should be totally separate parts. And there's no guarantee if you say fact 0.75 and then 0.25. You didn't get the idea? If you got it, please share it, Diego, with James, UI, Corey. Yang is invisible. Oh, I see. Yang and I say what you grab out of it. And what is the solution? Yes.
Okay, but if we keep them random state, they're gonna still be like, they are potentially gonna be repetitive, yeah? Or
It could be repetitive. So what is the solution not to have repetitive rows? How could you say, hey, whatever you have there, eliminate them from the major original data set, and then the remainder is gonna be the test. We need something like that, right? Imagine that you have 100 rows, you already used up that 75 rows. So you need to say whatever is not into that 75 rows, and they are in the original data set is the rest of 25.
so can we put this in a variable and then exclude it from the next?
If I knew that that's my, yeah. I wish I knew. But another one is, let's assign 2 bonuses for this as well, 2 bonuses, so.
we just have to identify the duplicates. So we have to store what has been already used and a model. Then after that, when we're giving the model, we're testing it, then we have to check if we have duplication. So we just have to drop it. So and then
It is possible, but it's gonna be a long way for doing that. Okay, look at this one. Everyone, please pay attention to this. And even after explaining, I guess we need a bit of time to think about it and see if we can understand everything well. Look at this one. Here, that's the 75% of the original. And then what happens here? We say we go to UFO dot the indices that are inside train of indices. Guys, forget about the tilde. Forget about the tilde. I mean, imagine that this thingy is not there. In that case, this one is going to give you exactly the same results. We go to the train to indices. Imagine that indices were 1, 3, 4, and so on. So technically, we do not have index 2, for example, in the example that I told. So go there from the UFO, the original data set, pick all those indices that they are in that, right? In that fraction, 75%. If you just do the negate, it's going to show those that they are not. This is not. Everything in that fraction, not, means that the rest of that 25%. You use it as a kind of filter, and you say, show me those rows that are not into the train, and all the columns. Does that make sense? Kinda? 50%? More? More?
And the column is everything, right?
On everything, yes. We want to have exactly the same data set, a part for training, a part for testing. Yes. The problem is the randomness. We want to do it randomly, right? And do you remember that for Iris, we used a kind of library that automatically we just said 50-50%, 75 rows, 75 rows. It uses this mechanism times. As you remember, when we used Iris and we said 75%, then the test percentage is 0.5. Sorry, 0.5 is half of it, test, half of it training. That's how actually they implement it. The good thing is now you have the control, you know how to play around with it. Okay, spend 2 minutes, explain, guys. Spend 2 minutes, please. Talk to your friend. He's a good guy. Okay. Yes,
You can write tilde train.
sorry.
So in the second one for testing, can you write tilde train so it's gonna just exclude?
Till a train is not a condition. It's not true false. Right? Here is indexed inside there. It's gonna bring you just do one thing. Hit this part and run it. It's going to give you some truths and falses. Again, if I say train.index, if I say UFO.index is in there, it's going to give you some truths and falses. That's when you can negate it by saying, okay, whatever true we have converted to false, whatever false we have converted to true. So you use that one as a filter, applying. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good question, by the way. Okay, by saying that, actually, We are done with this part. And I don't see anybody wants any break, right? Everybody wants, okay, sorry. So let's have a 10-minute break. It's 12, almost 20, so let's come back at 12:30. Thank you.
Okay. So, can you hear me? I don't think so. Shoot, the letter is done. Okay, apparently, we don't have the battery, at least for next hour. The thing is, what is dummy variable? What are dummy variables? When you see them, you're gonna understand the concept. So these are the things that you use them in machine learning. In SQL, we have similar things. In Excel spreadsheets, we have similar things. So we could say dummy variables or indicator variables. Imagine that for a column named gender. By the way, guys, the sample that we will use with respect all ideas and opinions, just I need to tell you, the data set belongs to 100 years ago. So they just have one column contains female and male as gender. The data set is not updated, definitely. So that is why for that data set, imagine that here we have one column that addresses the gender, either male or female. And what we want to do is, if a person is recognized themselves as male, they are 1, and if they recognize themselves as female, the value for them is 0. Does that make sense? So let's go and implement that. For doing this, here it says that suppose we want to create a dummy variable for the sex column, and for doing so, for the first time, we use maps. So we map the female, what it means that wherever we have female string, just replace it with 0 or say it is 0. And whatever we have string male, say it is 1. Everything is clear so far? Yep. But the thing, what is this? Man. Look, Donald, here we have a column named sex, and we have male, female, 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 male, right? So we could say 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. Easy. And now you say, okay, imagine that I did that mapping, and let's just create one new column. You remember that if you say train, and you mention a column that is not in the list of those column headers, then it creates that and add it at the end, right? Is it clear? So it creates that sex male and put those values 1, 0, 0, 0, 1 there. Now it is 100% clear. Excellent. So look at this. Now we want to have another way. Please say, we say pandas.getDummies, and then we say go to the trained data frame to the sex data series, right? So it's gonna get them, and look at this one. Donald, be here. And then it's gonna say, imagine that the female column is not there. then it's exactly gives you the same thing, 1 0 0 0 1 and so on. Does that make sense, everybody? But opposite is for female, right? So do we have female in the first row? No. Do we have female in the second row? Yes. You remember that because male, female, 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 male. Guys, everybody could follow? Yeah, kind of. Lovely. Look at this one. What if I say, guys, don't you think that it is ridiculous to have both of them? They're just kind of repetitive because if we have male info, the opposite is what we have it in that column too. So if you have just one column and you ignore that column, it's enough. I want to ask you one thing. Imagine that you have instead of male, female, imagine that we consider 3, like male, female, non-binary. Huh? Tell me, how many columns do we need to have for dummy variables? I give you one example. Imagine here we have male, female, non-binary, female, non-binary, male. Okay, if we say male is, so I want to convert these guys into columns, like we have male, female, and non-binary. Tell me, for this row, this is going to be 1, these two are going to be zeros, right? For this one, this is going to be 0, this one is going to be 1, and this one is going to be 0. For this one, it's like this. For this one, it's like this. For this one, it's like this, and like this. Does that make sense, everybody? And people at home, I hope that you can just see the example for a second. Give me a sec, sorry. I just want to unshare, stop sharing for a sec. Okay. So the thing is, for male, we say 1 0 0 and so on and so forth. The thing is, now tell me, if I delete this column, can I still say what is the identity of that person?
Yeah.
If it is 0 0, I can just say what?
No.
Male. If it is 1 0, female. If it is, so 0 0 again, male. So whenever you have k different variables, the number of dummy columns that want dummy variables is k minus 1. Now you know why. Huh? Wait a second, we are gonna just see something. Oh, you said what? Oh.
Just saying like.
Oh, okay. So let's look at the next part. Because we don't need from column number 0, we want to from column number 1 all the way to the end, and now we know why. You can just say I lock all the rows, but from the second column all the way to the end. And for this toy example, we just have 2 columns. Does that make sense? Huh? Okay, look at this one, please. What if I say get dummies for train.sex and we say, you know what? Create a new series name with the prefix sex. So it's going to be sex underscore male, something like that. And then what could be the value inside it? 1 0 0 0 1. You remember male, female, female. Everybody could follow? Next thing. Okay, I want to create one. Can you please check embarked? Say train.embarked.value counts. Can you do that? And if you do that, you're gonna see we have three classes: embarked S, embarked C, and embarked Q, right? Done? Question for you. Is it possible to convert these three values into dummy variables? The answer is yes. Simply you just say PD that get dummies, and then train.embark, go and fetch that train.embark, convert it to a dummy variable, and then use prefix embarked. So it's gonna be embarked underscore S underscore C underscore Q, something like that. And the beautiful part is you can just simply say all the rows, but from column number 1, not 0. So you delete the things. And this is what we already talked about. So the rule of thumb is if you have k variables, the number of columns that you need is what? K minus 1. Yes.
Sorry, so get dummies, it's gonna convert everything to 0 or 1.
It's going to convert to zeros and ones, and whatever you have. For instance, you have if you have that column, it's going to be 1. If you do not have that, for that, look at here, for instance, you see here the first one was S, so 0 for C, 0 for Q, 1 for S. For the second one, it is C, so 1 for C. For the rest, you have zeros. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it makes this single column to 3 different columns.
Yes, exactly. And if you have 4 variables, it's gonna make 4 columns. You can just use 3 out of them. Yes, look, I'm gonna get back to it.
Yeah, have as an original column, like maybe SC, SS, and then you're just going to then create a dummy column based on.
Exactly. That's the idea.
So represent them with a series of 0 and 1.
True. Exactly.
And then finally, it's just if you have 4 variables, you can represent those dummy only.
With 3 variables. Yes, with 3 columns, actually. Yeah, you got it. Awesome. Thanks for summarizing that way. So look at here, Nigib. Here we have Q and S. If you have 0, 1 here, so it is S. If you have 0, 0, it means that that's the column that we already dropped, which is C, huh? So I think that now it is kind of clear, right? Okay, so if we go to the next one, we say that let's create something that we call it embarked dummies, huh? And guess what? It's going to be dummy columns that we created with embarked prefix. And we say have from column number 1, not 0. So let's have 2 columns. Is it clear for everybody? Kumar? Okay, now we want to concatenate the embarked and the original data set. Now it's time to concatenate them because you want to glue them column to column, shoulder to shoulder in vertical way. You say axis equal to 1, right? You don't want to stack them on top of each other. You want to put them side by side. So you say axis equal to 1, column to column. But generally, it takes lots of effort to do all these things. The good news is, guys, because we already destroyed the whole thing, please fetch the Kaggle train once again. Done. Okay, now, isn't it beautiful? You just say, get dummies, and from where? From the train data frame. And you say that which columns I want to convert them to dummy variables. I say sex and embarked. And guess what? It's going to change that into sex underscore female and sex underscore male, embarked C, embarked Q, and embarked S. Fantastic, just in one. And you may say that, Reza, now it is easy. I can just say dot drop and drop the columns. I know the instructions, right? Ryan, you just need to say drop 2 times and you get rid of those 2 unwanted columns. But even a better news for you is that, and that is why I said bonus tip for bonus tips, you can simply say drop first equal to true. So technically, if it is sex underscore female as the first column, I'm going to drop that. And if it is embarked underscore C as the first column, I'm going to drop that too. And it is almost recent. When I say recently, 6 years ago, it was added to. So you don't even need to touch the drop command. Yeah, or yeah.
I didn't understand the drop first.
Okay, look at the previous one. In the previous, if you do not say drop first equal to true, we said that we don't need to have 2 columns. We just need to have 1 column for when you have 2 variables. For this one that we have 3, we just need to have 2. We don't need to have this one. So, I agree?
Yeah.
For now. Okay. So if we do not know that, they updated the command and we can just use it directly. We need just to drop these 2 columns.
Okay.
But even easier, you can just simply use this new switch. You say drop first column. K minus 1, that's it.
Did you have drop last one?
I didn't try, please try it. Always ask tough question. Guys, minus for tough question. Okay, so everything is fine. Let's go to 25. Okay, we have majority of people, and I guess it's a good time that I explain a few things. I tried, I apologize. I tried my best, but because in the other group we could finish 26. So we are gonna do the same thing here. So this is 25. We are gonna finish another one, which is going to be yes, 26. So we will have 27, 8, 9, and 30 for the next week. This is my plan, and I'm gonna tell you the whole thing about the plan. That is first. For the lecture, we are gonna finish the remainder of the week trial, but no rush to finish everything in 1 hour. I guess that I need something like 2 hours to finish. Sorry. I need 2 hours to finish. Can I hide behind the lack of a sleep excuse? The thing is, we are gonna just use up 1 hour of next lecture to finish the whole PowerPoints. But for the rest, that's the good news part. First thing first, we finished 11 seconds that we promised to have and pick top 8 out of 11 seconds. You know that. Today is the last. So technically for next 2 weeks, you don't have any reason to come, right? But I'm gonna make motivation for bringing people. One is we are going to do something like, I'm not saying exactly like assignment number 4 inside the lab. 30 questions. And if you finish those 30 questions of them, what actually happens, right? Guys, this is important. Can you just hold with me? Oh, here. Thank you. No worries. The thing is, if you miss any quiz mark, if you miss any lab mark, I consider 3% for next lab. 3% means imagine that I miss 3 labs.
that's the time that I can just complete, yes.
Like if we come in next week,
Not just for showing up, finishing the lab exercise that we actually. And every 5 questions that you finish, you're going to get 0.5, 33%. Does that make sense? And it's going to compensate those people who missed or didn't get what they really deserve for the quizzes, right? Sometimes I just jump to answer the quizzes and I was not ready. So this is for those. Is it fine? The next thing is, how about a week after that? And that is super important as well. A week after that, for the lecture part, and that's a good news, we are going to work on Tableau. 1 hour from 0 to hero, I promise. And after that 1 hour, you can just add that line into your resume that I know how to work with Tableau. Honestly. Nobody expects that you know everything perfectly, but for some of the jobs, you need to be familiar. And that provides that for you. You know that if you just check Power BI, Tableau, they are somehow like to-go visualization tools. You're gonna finish one of them next week. I mean, 2 weeks from now. And even better news is they're not gonna be in the exam. Okay, so the contents that we need to have for it's gonna get finished till next week lecture. So the rest will be review. Okay, Reza, what are you going to do for 2 labs from now? Means not next week, that 30 question happens, for 2 weeks from now. You can just bring your group and present your project, final project. And the good thing is you don't need to record the session. If you're at school, so it's gonna be just 10 minutes, 15 minutes coming here and present and get your mark in advance. Does that make sense? Or if you have any concern about the project, so the last lab would be for revising, working on your project or presenting. Okay, guys, do you have any suggestion? Do you want to change any of these things? Is it fine? Actually, I thought a lot to make it interesting and just, yeah. Yes, don't ask tough questions.
No, but for the Tableau, what if we have it in the lab?
Sorry,
For the Tableau,
for the Tableau, what if we,
have it on the lab, not the lecture.
why not?
Um,
Okay,
like,
I'm gonna make it, guess what? Maybe I add more into it, but I already have 70 some slides for Tableau. So means you close your eye, no, not closing. You just follow each slide and you can easily get the project done. No doubt. So why I use the chance of using, because when I record it and I do it on Zoom, only on Zoom, it's gonna be like teach yourself kind of thing. That is the reason. But okay, so let's go to the next PowerPoint together. Let's start with this question. How we handle date and time in our data sets. How we handle date and time in our data sets. By the way, I'm going to post all the PowerPoints as well as the rest of the things. So you're gonna have easier job for reviewing the things. Look, as you see, let's just put up another data set, UFO. And as you see, the last column is time. My question for you, Diego, is that date and time in terms of time, yes or no? Is this column, the type, the texture, is it date and time? The only wrong answer is one, you keep it. So say yes or no. Why not keep it?
State and time.
Date and time. Let's see, when we say date and time means we can do the calculations over it. But look at this one. If I say show me by description or D types, you have several options to see. It says that time is object, technically text. Are you following, everyone? So in that case, when you want to fetch the hour, for example, you don't have an easy job to do. You need first to say, you know what? Go to UFO, go to time, Mahyar, and then go to stir because it is a string, and then slice it from -5, which is first 2, all the way to colon, but not including colon, means 2 and 2, and then you have the hour. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense at all. Because then again, you have another thing which is object. If you say, now add that one to the next hour, it's not going to work. You need, again, another step to say now, change it to integer, and now you can, for instance, say dot sum.
But what is -5?
-5 means go to the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is the first 2, and then all the way to colon, but not colon. Does that make sense? Let's go to the next part. So before and after. Before, oh sorry, after is if you say PB dot to date and time. This is an easy way that we can. You pass you for the time and you say change it to date and time. And look at this one. Nice, neat, right? Like an army, all of them are lined up. And look at this one. You can just see and judge based on the format of it. And it knows which one is actually day, which one is actually month. You don't need to say anything. It finds that everything is fine. 100%. Excellent.
I have a question. So what if in average they can create like the format of entering like dates and year is different? So for example, we have day, month, and then year.
It's going to find it. It's intelligent. Okay. So it is going to, yes.
You just said that we're using a data type specifically for this that has like built-in functionality, so you can add times, days, stuff like that.
Well, actually, thanks for asking that question. The question that I received was, okay, we do that typecasting from object to date and time, and we want to know what can we do then. And now this is the answer. First thing, look at this. Time is not object anymore. It's date and time. The next thing is, now if you say fetch the hour, do you see that it doesn't take any effort to say from -5 to 3 or something. You just say, I want the hour part of it. That one is deprecated. We don't have weekly underscore name. You remember how we could just fetch the API things? I did that search and I found that, okay, we have day underscore names, for example. Day underscore name is gonna show you, for instance, if it is 0, where's the thing? It was 0, 1, 0, 1, and so on. So it was like this. This is the index. You can just use day name, or what is the day of the year? Day of year shows that it is day 152nd. It starts from actually 1. January 1st is 1. All the way to 365. But look at this one. For day of week, the first day is Monday 0. I'm sorry, I just explained it the other way around. Monday is 0, and Sunday is the last day, which is 6. Does that make sense? Again, Monday 0, Monday, Tuesday 1, and so on, all the way to Saturday 5 and Sunday 6. Yeah? If you check, please go and check, type series.bt and Google it. You should see something similar to this one, not exactly. Done? You can just see, we already worked with a few of them, for instance, the year of the date time. And then we say the month as January is 1st and so on. The day of the date time, fetching the minutes, the second, and so on and so forth. Does that make sense? Huh? Cool. Okay, what if we want to figure adding one date to the system? How we can do that? Like having one timestamp. We simply say pandas dot 2 dates time and you pass the date time. And what is the good thing about it? Imagine that you say TS is equal to that value. Then you can use it like, okay, which days are less than that, which days are greater than or equal to that. You can just play around with it like this. Imagine that if we didn't have that thingy, we needed to write tons of codes. Here, you simply say, hey, go to the UFO.time that are greater than or equal that timestamp. Means show me the lines that UFO reported and they were after January 1st, 1999. It's just going to filter among all those things, showing just those. Does that make sense? Wait, then it's going to get more interesting. When you have time, you can use all those functions. You can say, what is the max of those days? Means the most recent report. What is the min? What is the first time that they said, okay, I saw a UFO, right? And then you can just, you remember that I said it's not easy to do the calculations. Now simply you can say max minus min, and it's going to show you 25,000 almost days between the first time and the last time that we saw. But it has some other stuff that we don't need. So we say, do everything, dot days, fetch only the date part of it. Yeah? But I don't know what to do or how to do it, but honestly, especially for the next semester, I mentioned it in this class because this class is relatively higher than the others. I don't know what to do for the time that we are in class together, but just make sure that you are 100% alert. Bring coffee, your snacks, whatever. Just stand up sometimes and sit. Make sure that you're going to follow everything, especially next semester. Everything that I said, it takes lots of time for me to understand the concept and make it simple. And I ask many profs
questions that I had, like somebody in the class that asked tough questions. I asked those tough questions from the profs and I received lots of wrong answers. So now I know the content is reasonably correct and ready, but it needs 100% awareness. Okay? Look at this one. The next is, what can we do if we want to fetch the year and just pass the number of UFO reported and draw a graph? Very simple. You say, let's create UFO year. Guys, whenever you say UFO year and you do not have that, it's going to create one column at the end, you know this. And simply you say UFO time DT, fetch the year part. So now we have a nice, neat, clean part at the end. Does that make sense? Don't forget to say % math blocklet, that is necessary if you're working with something like Anaconda. Date time, like a stir, date time functions, because it is date time. Okay, and if you say, what is the problem of this? If I say draw a graph based on that, what's the problem of this? It is sorted based on, as far as the 19th, guys, whenever we want to draw a graph, what do we want to see? We want to see, for instance, 1930 all the way to 2000, our data set.
Yeah.
But in that case, it's gonna say which one is the highest number, right, 2000 something. And then the other year, doesn't make sense. So that is why the best is to sort based on the yes, sir.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, just gotta have the dates, right, it's currently from highest citing to lower, you want.
Exactly. Lovely, Lucas with K, right?
Yeah.
Good job. We didn't have your wise opinions for a while now. Thank you. Good. So now if you say dot sort based on the index, what's going to happen? It's going to sort based on the index in ascending order. And you see, in 1930, we had 2, in 1931, 2, 1933, 1, all the way to 2000, which we had. And now everything is ready now here. We just pour it into the machine, and it's going to give us the plots. Look, UFO.year.value counts.sort based on the index. We just said dot plot. Finish. Done.
If you want to have it like descending, we should write like
This ascending equal to false. Yes.
inside the sort and.
There are 2 ways for doing that: ascending or reverse. Both. Okay. Done. Yeah. When in your presentation, you're angry. Oh. We need to work on the definition of happy and angry. No. Okay. Let's go to the next part. Did I mention everything? Yes. And guys, the last for today. Are you ready? We don't need any break, right? So it's just gonna take something like half an hour, even less. So we prefer just to continue. Let's go to this one, and we ask a question, and that is, what are we gonna do with duplicate records? Imagine that in some of the data sets, we don't care. We have duplicates because in the nature of that, we have duplicate, like products. Return, for instance, the laptops that they return to Best Buy. Imagine that they return some laptops, the same brand, who cares? But imagine that you want to have the marks for the students. You don't want 2 marks for 1 course repeated. That's one question. The other thing is, imagine that in the folder of submission, we have 1, 2, 3, sometimes you submit 3 different things.
What do you want to be marked, to be graded, the first one or the last submission? The last submission. You got it, right? Have you ever heard those kind of things that, hey, please do not submit your request 2 times. We ignore the rest. Please, we accept what? The first one. Does that make sense? Have you ever seen those kind of lottery things that they say, if you participate 2 times, we are gonna delete your whole report? Means no duplicate is accepted. Guys, did you see the scenarios? So you cannot say for all the time, we just want to keep the first one, for all the time, we want to keep the last one, or we don't want to keep any duplicate. It really depends. And these slides are all about facing all those scenarios. Right, Mr. Wright? Awesome. Let's go to next. Please download this, fetch this data set. We fetched it day 1, Canvas. Movie users, separator, bar sign, header none, names, user calls. And then we say index underscore calls equal to user ID. Means that user ID should turn into what? Index instead of 0, 1, 2. Jonathan, fine. Where is separation? Oh, really? If she's realistic and then this remind me of this. Sorry? We were sick yesterday. You very much look like. Okay. Let's go to the next part together. By the way, I've seen some friends that they have forgotten to open the quiz, guys. Quiz is still open. Just if you haven't opened it, please just open the quiz. Yes. This. Sure, you can take a snapshot as well. And another solution. Done. Okay, look at this one. Here we want to say where we have duplicate zip codes. What do you think? It says 940, line 940. We have 1 true. What does it mean?
It's duplicated.
It is duplicate, but what does it mean? It is duplicate. Guys, this is the first we have duplicates after, or this is the duplicate. We had something similar to that before.
We had something before.
Excellent. Look at this one. Here we have true. It means that we had something similar to that before. So the default is keep first. Ignore the rest. Ignore last. And if you say dot sum, what does it mean?
It's the number of duplications.
Awesome. It shows that how many zip codes we have duplicated, right? How many trues we have, because trues are going to turn into 1, falses are zeros, huh? And now look at this one. What if you say instead of zip code dot duplicated, if you say users dot duplicated? I didn't grab this one. Can anybody explain that without reading? Just by reading the command.
Is it like the whole, how many like users are duplicated?
Feature, right?
Awesome.
Sorry.
No, Peter, I know that you know the same, so that's fine. Sorry, Mahir. Mahir and Peter. Awesome. Good job. Look. This time we say find duplicate for the whole record. It shows that we have 7 totally identical records. Means that we have 7 records and we have the second 7 similar to this one. Is it possible, I don't know, there's a kind of bonus, fat bonus for the people who can just show those repetitive rows. Who can show those repetitive rows. Mother Ryan, please. I don't know how. Just...
No, yes.
Would you mind going back the slide or to the redefined user? Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah.
Take a snapshot and done. Awesome. So, oopsie. Yes, Don. Let me just check on your computer. Don. Excellent. Right. Bravo. Carl, if I want to use somebody to fill and to record, and you have a very nice voice for recording.
Okay.
I enjoyed your explanation as well. I wish I had the same. Good. Sorry. Mark. Excellent. Bravo. There's your name. Come on. Just remember that you're 36, please. Awesome. Anybody else? We just want to show those repetitive rows, those duplicate rows. Anybody else here? Hey, I think that's 26 minutes, right? You want your 26 minutes. 20 some minutes. Yes. Awesome. Yeah. We had some people that they spent 30 some minutes. And on the other side, I had one person 1 minute and something. It's just started really to finish. I was like, what? Good job. I like it. It's awesome. Lucas. Actually, 1% so far. Thank you. And you're late students. Awesome, 1% today. Good job. بالایش چرا قرمزه؟ اوکیدو. Nagin. Awesome, 1% you as well. Okay, can I have your attention, please? As many of you already guessed, you simply can say, guys, I do completely accept if you don't use long and you just use it as a kind of filter to show those rows. But this one is nice for me, but please try to use long as much as you can. Next week, especially, you're gonna find why long works better. Right, Donald? You want to say, just be careful, avoid this. Write that one, try and see if everything works.
Next week, you are gonna see if you don't use lock, in some cases, it's not gonna do the job. So why should we take risk? Now it's the time to say, hey, do you want to keep first or do you want to keep last? What is the default value? Anybody knows? This is without saying anything. So look at the duplicated rows, 496 and so on. It means that, hey, something like this row happened before. Does that make sense? Before line 496. Look at this. If you just say keep first, it's gonna do the same thing. Means that the default is keep first. And if you say dot drop, what's gonna happen? Oh, it's not here. If you say keep last, means that, hey, line 67 would be repeated somehow later, like 400 something. Does that make sense? Then please keep last, ignore the first. So it shows the duplicate values, right? Give me 2-3 seconds, 2-3 minutes. Look at this one. What if I say keep equal to false? Means that I don't want any duplicate. Something is not. Okay, so please try all. Keep first, keep last, keep equal to false. And whenever you are done, please explain it to your neighbors. First, duplicate رو نشون میده بعد از اون keep last آخری رو نشون میده. keep last ببخشید keep last آخری رو نگه داره اونی که قبلش تکرار شده میشه. Keep first. Okay, keep first means that I'm going to keep the first iteration, but if it happens to duplicate it later, ignore the rest.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna show you the rest, the duplicated that happened later.
Okay.
Keep the first one, I'm not gonna show you.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense? Okay. And keep the last is opposite, means I show you the first duplicate, which is going to happen, but I just consider the last. Okay. Okay, look at this one. As we said, it is default. The default is keep equal to first. We didn't say in place equal to true. And the reason for that is I didn't want to touch the original data set. We wanted to practice here. If you say keep first and say dot shape, after you say drop duplicate, guys, before that we said just duplicate. Here we say drop duplicates. And it's gonna be 943 minus 7 makes it 936. Right? I'm happy that I didn't delete those because if you say what is the shape after this command, it's going to just show you the same 943 minus 7, which is 936. And if you say keep equal to false, it's going to be 943 minus 14, which is going to make 9.29. Does that make sense? And just I wanted to review the first PowerPoint the second PowerPoint that we went through together, how to search, for instance, keep, maybe that was your question, keep first, last, false, and the default is first, and so on. It mentioned that, for instance, first drop duplicates except for the first occurrence, right? So we just drop the rest of the duplicates, we keep the first one. And so. Okay. Now Mr. Hall. We want just to check what are the duplicates of just two columns, age and zip code. Huh? I know that it's meaningless, but let's imagine that we want to get rid of those duplications that age and zip code are repeated. In that case, you simply say duplicated subset is equal to both columns. You can have several columns here. And then say dot sum. We have 16 rows, 16 samples that their combination of age and zip code are duplicated, right? Excellent. And if you say exactly like before, if you say drop duplicates and then say shape 943 minus 16 is going to give you 927. Huh? Everything is fine. Bravo. By saying that, I'm gonna stop recording and wait. I need to take care of your attendance. Maybe I need to record this part too. And let me just see if there's anything else. Nope. The last thing that I want to emphasize, most of people, except just few, that I ask them, please show up in the lab and then we discuss. The difficulty level of alternative, guys, I just wanted to have something very simple for those who do not want to pick any project by themselves. So that is why I had those alternatives. Technically, one of them, one is suitable for one person, but I said, I know you have capstone, you have this project, that project, and that's the end of the semester. And I don't want to, just give you a hard time for my final project. So that is why it's reasonable to pick one alternative and just a group of two do that, group of one or two, individually or group of two. And if you want to exceed that, you want to exceed the limit of the group, so pick two alternatives. Or as one of our friends said, what if I just add more into the alternatives? That's even better, right? Just enhance it, make it something that, because it is recorded, not a bad idea to explain that. And I had extensive discussion with my team members in other class that I have in the other college, IoT programming, and it was about deep learning. I said we started just the era that we feel deep learning and AI as a part of our lives. So by saying that, I don't want to look at these projects that you do as something that, okay, let's just get the mark done. This could be something that is the job for you to find your career. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't think that we will have lots of opportunities for people who are just developers without knowledge or background in AI. Pretty soon, AI would be the mandatory part of most of the fields, especially programming in computer. So try to look at it from that perspective and enjoy whatever you're doing. By saying that, let me just close this one. People at home, have a good one. Stop sharing, stop recording.